Hey, this is Peter with Coho. Today we're here to talk to you about appraisals. Okay, so the next step in your transaction is the appraisal process. So if you are the buyer of a property and you're getting a mortgage, then an appraisal will likely be required. If that's the case, your lender's responsible for ordering that appraisal, but you need to make sure you're in touch with your loan officer and communicating your desire to move forward with your loan and to make sure that that appraisal gets ordered. I know there's a lot of moving pieces to a transaction, but it's important that even if your loan officer forgets to talk to you about certain parts of the process, that you help prompt them and keep them moving and keep them on pace so that you can make your closing date on time. When the appraisal happens, an appraiser is hired by your lender. You don't get to pick who the appraiser is. Your lender hires an appraiser to come and do an appraisal of the property. The appraiser is not an inspector, but the appraiser will go to the property and inspect certain elements of the property for general health and safety. It is possible that the appraiser will find something at the property that they make a condition of the loan, and that is where they inform the lender that something needs to be addressed. Common examples of this would be outdated smoke or carbon monoxide detectors, earthquake straps on a water heater, vapor barrier under a house, fire-rated door between the garage and the house, items like that. If this ends up happening where the appraiser does flag some required conditions, then you and your realtor will have to work out a negotiation with the seller to see that those repairs happen prior to closing. In most cases, the lender will not fund or close the transaction until those property conditions are remedied. The other piece of it, of course, is valuation. So the appraiser will be walking through the property to take a look at the property and get a good feeling for what they're working with so they can go out and find some sales comparables to look at and compare to. Now, there's three methods to appraising property, and you don't need to remember these, but it's the income approach, the sales comparison approach, and the cost approach. If you do read your appraisal, which I would recommend that you do, you may see multiple of these approaches used in valuing the property, but the one that is traditionally given most weight and typically matters in most normal residential sales environments is the sales comparison approach. And this is where they're going to find other sales comparables that have occurred. These are similar homes that have already sold to other buyers, and they're going to make some adjustments accounting for the differences in the home. So for example, if you're buying a home that has a 2-car garage and they find one similar that has a 3-car garage, they'll often make an adjustment for that difference. Other differences could be things like square footage, lot size, condition of the property, etc. In any case, the appraiser's job is to look at those sales comparables and formulate an opinion on the value of the property. The appraiser is an independent, third-party, disinterested party, meaning that they don't have any interest in whether the sale closes or not, and their job is to give an opinion on the value. So in a lot of cases, the appraiser will look at the sales comparables and come up with their opinion of value. As long as that value is at or higher than the sales contract price, we move on to the next step. Now, in some instances, the appraisal value may come below the sales contract price, and in a situation like that, you're gonna have to work with your real estate agent to talk about negotiating an agreement between you and the seller. Alternatively, you don't have to negotiate on anything if you're a buyer who is willing to cover the difference. And this would mean that in addition to whatever down payment you are going to put on the property, you're also going to contribute additional cash for the shortage or the difference, the delta between the sales contract and the appraised value. So for some buyers, if that difference is $5,000 and they have an extra $5,000 in cash, they might decide to just put that cash towards the difference and move on. But in most common situations, buyers are trying to keep their cash together, and they'll often try to negotiate some sort of an agreement with the seller. This could look like a price reduction of either all or part of the difference. Again, ask your realtor for more information about this, but it's important for you to understand that the appraisal process is happening sort of behind the scenes by an appraiser that is hired by your lender, and you get the pleasure of paying for that appraisal. As always, if you have other questions, reach out to your real estate agent, but I hope this gives you a little bit of an understanding of how the appraisal process works.